Usually, items on the agenda are addressed to the council, but I asked this particular item be for the benefit of you, the residents of the town. I want you to know that our concerns are going to be mostly addressed tomorrow. There is in front of the planning board. Tomorrow, at my behest, I asked the planning board, along with the zoning board, if they would meet, especially to consider this power plant for educational purposes. It's not for purposes of actually making a decision, but just to understand what it is that's being proposed. I've got a gentleman previously stated that he read 471 pages of this application. By the way, this is the application that was filed with the Energy Siting Board. The Siting Board asked our building inspector, our planning board, and our zoning board to give advisory opinions to the Siting Board as to whether or not this plant should be allowed to be built here. They did not ask that of the town council, but of those boards. A lot of this information contained in this application is very technical. Even though our planning board members are very professional, as well as our zoning board members, they know quite a bit. There are things in here that we needed help with. This council, months ago, has instructed your manager and myself to find somebody, experts, consultants, who can help our members of the Planning and Zoning Board to read through this, understand it, critique it, find holes in it, tear it apart, find what's wrong with it. Can we improve on it? That's what we did. I have prepared a memo. It's like a guide map for the planning board. This memo is right out here if anybody wants to read it. It's in that box up there. It contains at least 16 pages. This memo tells, if you choose to read it, and I urge you to read it, take it with you, and come tomorrow to listen to our experts, our consultants, as to what this application really means. Hopefully we all will learn, because what is going to happen tomorrow is instruction. It's just to give our members on the boards instructions, or to teach us as to what it is that we should be asking of Invenergy to better understand what's in this plan. The last 10 pages of my memo are questions that we posed to Invenergy because it wasn't clear enough. Even to our experts, they did not know, or at least the application was not specific enough. These questions, 10 pages of which, were composed by our consultants, by our experts, looking for more information from this company. They were composed over the course of a couple of months. I think we've submitted 6 different sets of questions. We call them data requests. Every once in a while, some consultant that we hired asks us to get more information so that we are more knowledgeable as to what it is that they propose to do. Is it harmful? Can it be made less harmful? We were looking for information. So we composed 10 pages of questions. Some of those have been, like I said, submitted earlier on, some recently. Since I printed this out, I think it was on Sunday, we have since then submitted more questions. I think maybe 15 or 20 just 2 days ago. Tomorrow we're going to be asking even more questions, all because our consultants are still looking for more information, because this really is not all that clear. Some of those questions also come from your council members and from the town manager. So tomorrow we're going to have a combined zoning and planning board meeting for purposes of instruction to the board members as to what it is that's contained in this application. Now, our consultants, we will have a noise consultant, and he will tell you so far what he has found, what he needs more. He'll answer any questions that the board members will have. We will have also an environmentalist specialist. We will have an air consultant. We will have a civil engineer. We'll have 4 consultants, experts, answering questions to our planning board. I urge you all, and invite others who are interested. I'm sure there's more than just you that are here. They would love to hear what they have to say. So tomorrow meeting is at 6 p.m. And just an hour ago, I found out that Invenergy is also having an informational meeting at the same time, also at the high school.
Where is the meeting?
At 6 p.m. is going to be at the auditorium. So that's the
high school auditorium?
Yes, planning and zoning. So I urge you all to come and listen. Now this is for the benefit of the zoning and planning board members, as well as the building officials, since those are the individuals that are asked for advisory opinions. So they are the ones that are going to be educated. But I urge you to come and listen just for your own purposes, so you know what it is that we can be taught or elucidated about. So please come. I urge you to take this memo, spend some time reading it.
I just have a question. Clarity. Could you answer 2 questions? One, can the recommendation of the board be no, or as per your other memo, can they only advise on ways to improve the plan, or if it will violate and require any additional variances? Can their recommendation be no?
Are you speaking about the planning and zoning board?
Yeah.
Yes, they can say no, they can say yes.
It's Jason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need you to come to the microphone for the clerk.
Sure. Sorry.
No problem.
So can the recommendation to the siting board be no, we don't want it?
There's really 2 answers to your question. One, all we can do is advise. We can advise. And that's the only power that the law gives us. So that the answer from our planning board and zoning board can be, we don't want it, we don't like it, for whatever reason. The siting board is not bound by that advisory opinion.
Of course.
So the answer is yes, the planning and zoning board can say no, but the siting board doesn't have to follow our advice.
Okay, so beyond the advice around variances and improvements on the plant that I saw in your other memo, their overall advisory opinion can be no, we don't think this plant should be built.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Helpful. Second question, the experts that you're talking about, are they hired, recommended, in any way connected with the company that wants to build the plant?
Absolutely not. The manager and I spent quite some time vetting these experts. One of the first questions that was asked in writing as well as oral, if there's any connection whatsoever with Invenergy, TransCanada, which is the name of the other power plant, in any way, if there's any connection whatsoever. We interviewed numerous experts, and the ones we chose have absolutely no connection. So that it was our choice, we would hire the managers.
Last question, and I'll go back to the back. The payment of these experts and everything that we're being asked to take on as a part of this, is that being paid for by us, the town, or are those funds being reimbursed, paid for by someone else?
Once again, there's a simple answer. The town council authorized the manager to hire these experts at the town's expense. The law allows us to ask the siting board to reimburse the town for the cost of experts up to a maximum of $100,000. Now, so we hire these experts, we sign contracts with them to pay them, and then we ask for reimbursement of the maximum of $100,000, which was granted.
I would expect that we're going to go over that pretty quickly at some point. So I'll just close with a comment. It's unfortunate that we even have to be taking up town money for this, that you have to be spending your time on this at all. We didn't ask for it, we don't want it. Somebody, for goodness sake, please tell the governor no. Thank you.
My question is for, Jeremy Bailey? Yep, still at Long Lake Road, thank you.
For now.
Yeah, for now, exactly. Can you just clarify a few things? And you guys have, as a whole, and the experts have asked some really good questions of the experts. You can get them online, they're on the AFSB website. Can you explain to us right now how many questions have actually been answered?
I believe an hour before this meeting started, we received additional answers, I think.
Oh, okay, I won't hold you to that, but up until an hour ago, how many do you recall them answering?
If I may ask, Mr. McAvoy, do you remember how many?
I don't have the exact number, I would say it's about half.
Hold on, so it was about half?
But
Yeah.
the reason for that also, if I may answer,
Sure,
if I
yeah.
may explain.
Yes, please do.
We submitted data requests in like maybe 15 at one point because we had questions immediately asked. And then we got more questions submitted by our experts. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we submitted more questions. So they, Invenergy answered the questions, or they have, I believe, 30 days to answer the questions. So the first ones they received, they answered, and as they got them, they prepared the answer within 7 days. So the last ones that we received was to our 4th set of data requests. We received them only a couple of hours ago.
Okay.
I didn't have a chance to look at it yet.
Okay, and have they answered everything within the 30 days, or have we had to grant any extensions for any questions up to this point?
I believe we granted one 10-day extension on the very first step.
Okay. Now, my question for you then, so we have granted them an extension, which is, per common courtesy, it's pretty standard practice. Now, we've been asked for advisory opinions. We're working on that right now. We're getting there. So, as far as I'm concerned, we should be asking for extensions regardless, because you know what, that's what they're doing to us. They ask for extensions, they want to bombard us, in my opinion, they want to bombard us with information, at the last minute, and not give us time as we continue to ask questions. As a town, I believe that as we're trying to gather this information, we should also be asking for extensions, because it's just common courtesy. Can you comment as to...
We don't have a time limit. We can keep asking questions. Up
Okay.
until the siting board is by law. I believe by September 9th is when the deadline is.
There is a discovery cutoff, I'd have to pull up the schedule to tell you what the date is, but there is a discovery cutoff.
He said there was a discovery cutoff at some point, so at some point we'll be able to stop, we're going to have to stop asking questions.
When would that be?
I stand corrected.
Okay.
We don't know what that is, we'll let you know.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm just going to finish up real quick with, I don't know, it might be a comment or a question, see how it comes out. Now, at some point, we're going to be cut off in this whole process, and I think this should be brought up to the governor. We seem to be under the gun to meet the timelines, and I know there are some timelines within the law. We seem to be under the gun for the timeline that Invenergy's asked for. If you look in their application, I'm under the impression that they've set some timelines and they're trying to push us to meet certain goals. Can you comment as to whether or not, so that date of September 16th was really requested by Invenergy, or if that was a statute of state law?
It's a state law, but I can also tell you that the timeline that I presented in a memo, I believe March 31st, was something that is our timeline. Based upon the information we have so far, we're having an informational meeting tomorrow for the planning board. We're having an actual testimony taken on June 6th. If we're not prepared, if we still need questions answered and we didn't receive those answers, the planning board can reschedule that date from June 6th to another date until after we receive all the answers to our questions and our consultants have the time to analyze them. So we can change those dates up to before September 9th is when we have to submit our advisory opinions.
Okay, because I just anticipate a game here, and Invenergy, no offense to us, that they're a lot smarter than us because they're a multi-billion-dollar company. They've hired the world's best. Not that we're not. I think this town is filled with some of the brightest people I've ever met. However, what's going to happen is at some point they're going to overload us with data, and it's gonna take an enormous amount of time. I believe they've answered a question as to what it's gonna do to property values. Their answer, and I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 140-something pages, their answer was no, but it took them 140 pages to say that. So, it's pretty common for, companies like that to overload you with data. So at what point, let's say at the 9th hour, they've answered all the questions, they just gave us 3 million pages of answers, but we're still under the gun to that September 16th. Is there any way to go to the state and go, all right, look, we were just given 3 million, pages of answers, yesterday, we're gonna need 3 months to cipher through that information.
What they've given us so far is nothing that our consultants have not been able to digest already. So that 140 pages where the answer was no, we don't need more time to get that answer.
No, I understand that, but that was a simple question of what's gonna do to property values. I mean, you guys have asked some really great questions, which I anticipate that they were gonna get some pretty lengthy answers back from these people. Why? Because that's what they do.
There is a timeline by law that the siting board has to cut off participation on these agencies, our boards, as well as state agencies. And that is set by law. September 9th is the deadline.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul Roselli, still in Mapleville, still represent the Burrillville Land Trust. I just want to clarify, first of all, I want to applaud both attorneys, solicitors and attorneys for the town in constructing the data request. I thought the questions were good, solid, adequate, makes sense. In any lawsuit, and this is similar to a lawsuit, there's a point of discovery. There should also be a point of cross-examination. Do you anticipate doing a cross-examination of some of these answers? And do you anticipate having that opportunity to do that? And when would that opportunity be?
There are multifaceted answers to that one particular question. With respect to our particular boards,
Right.
let's say June 6th is the date that we actually have a hearing. Invenergy will have their experts, and at that point, Mr. McRoy and myself will be able to cross-examine. Likewise, our experts who will be testifying, they're susceptible to be cross-examined as well.
Sure.
With respect to state agencies that have hearings, some state agencies are going to be providing advisory opinions without having hearings. But if they have hearings, we have a right to be there and cross-examine whoever is there presenting evidence. Those state agencies that choose to render an advisory opinion without having a hearing, but just giving an advisory opinion to the siting board, then the siting board has to allow us to cross-examine the experts used by those agencies in their advisory opinions. So we will have an opportunity to cross-examine.
And this all happens before September 9th? Is that?
September 9th is when advisory opinions are due,
I see.
and afterwards, the siting board will have hearings.
Okay.
And if some agencies do not have hearings, then we'll be able to cross-examine experts.
So then, let me go back to the data requests and the answers from Invenergy, if you don't mind. So at this point in the discovery process with getting answers from Invenergy, do you anticipate going back with that information and resubmitting some of those questions or follow-up questions to those data requests, the answers from Invenergy? Do you anticipate that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, we issued new ones, additional ones, and tomorrow, most likely, I believe we'll issue yet new ones. Yeah, so this is still ongoing.
Okay, all right, great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Zach.
Hi, good evening, Donna Woods, Grove Lane, Pasco. Just a real quick question. Do our experts or consultants have any ties to Junior Rondo?
Not to my knowledge, I had to be.
That was a good question, though. That was a good question.
Hi, I just had a quick question. My name's, yeah, to you, just respect to this stuff. Quick question, just follow up on like what our options are, and you know what?
I'll
Oh, sorry, my name's Erin Olkowski. I'm the girl from Burrillville that... Yeah, I'm from Harrisville. So I was looking through, and thank goodness you guys are asking some of these questions. I guess they didn't put in a disaster recovery plan in the original, paperwork, which is kind of ridiculous, but regardless. So thank goodness you guys are asking a lot of these questions. Paging through the questions, I was wondering if we are requesting, or if we are in the position on behalf of the town of Burrillville to request a comprehensive environmental impact statement from the EPA. My understanding, let me just give some context to that question. My understanding is that the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management is taking upon itself to act on behalf of the EPA in this instance. Now, my further understanding, based on a lot of the documentation that's out on the EFSB site and some very prestigious environmentalists with national stature who have been environmentalists of the year, who are doing tons of work on behalf of the environment, have said that there is no actual environmental scientist on staff. I don't know if this is true or not. I guess we're going to hear from them at the siting board meetings. There are no actual environmental scientists on staff at the DEM, and that the director of the DEM has ceded this responsibility to the Department of Fish and Wildlife or whatever, which as far as I know, they're just responsible for making sure we have trout to catch or whatever, which we do a lot of in Burrillville. But it doesn't seem like they have made a very specific case. Many of these very smart, way smarter than me, people who have said there's not the right people on staff at the DEM to make this, to step in the EPA's role and to do a comprehensive environmental impact statement. And that's something that we did do for the Ocean State Power Plant. I mean, we can read it, and it's pretty comprehensive. It's very long. So, in your follow-up questions, there's a lot in here about wetlands and things of that nature, but Rick Enser, who actually put in some written testimony and will be speaking at one of the siting board meetings, he's like a 30-year environmentalist. His concern is about the biodiversity in the area, and I don't see that covered in the questions that we've put forth as a town. Do we have the capability to actually either ask the EPA to intervene in our official status as the town, or can we contract with an actual environmental scientist to get our own environmental impact statement done, a comprehensive one, because it's not in anything that I can find. Long question, sorry.
I understand. I am constrained, and I have to work within the legal framework.
Right.
This legal framework really binds our hands. There are specific questions that are addressed to the planning board,
Okay.
the board, and to the building official. For us to go outside of that, that's not what the siting board wants from us. We'd be spending a lot of money giving them something to take, like I just said, for one from us. They asked DEM, and supposedly EPA has delegated its authority to DEM to act for them in this case. That's something the town has no control over.
So is our correct position then as residents of Burrillville to petition the siting board to ask for EPA's involvement and to get that comprehensive environmental impact statement done?
Yeah, the siting board has all the authority. So yes, if we can get them to, absolutely.
All right, it's just worrisome to us as you're reading through the documentation, seeing what's been required in the past, and when was the Ocean State Power thing? It was 1988, right? I mean, things haven't gotten better since then. You'd think we would need more protection, and the amount of development that's happened even in Burrillville since then has been a lot. And that's the last stretch, the last swath of the continuous forest that we have left, and they're gonna put, and it's actually on the list of like land that DEM wanted to acquire, and they're gonna stick a power plant right there. So it doesn't make sense. So we're just wondering what we could do to get more EPA involvement.
It's a federal agency. It's something that they will not listen to us,
Okay.
in my opinion. I think the siting board probably can ask for
All right, well, we'll go that route then. I didn't know if we could officially petition as the town of Burrillville and say, hey, this is gonna be a big impact to us and the wildlife in our area, and the comprehensive impact statement, because you see stuff about wetlands, you see stuff about, there's reference to protected species, there's 2 protected species that have been cited in that area, so it's just odd to me that we're not doing, that somebody's not doing it.
You know, I really don't want to beat that horse with this.
Okay.
The General Assembly took your rights away from you. They really did.
Yeah.
They knew.
We've discovered.
Nobody don't want a power plant in their backyard. So they drafted a law that said, you know what, you don't have any power. You can't stop this.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to this agency, they're going to make a decision for you. So you're all frustrated, we can all sense it, we hear you all the time, but you're taking it out of the book, people.
Well, could you guys possibly recommend any steps we could do to change those laws in the General Assembly? Because not all states have a siting
Too
provision,
late for this.
because the application is already in. All right, thank you.
I had a couple of questions for you. Just last week, there's quite a few people here. We went to the Gloucester meeting over there to bring up this subject. But they hadn't voted on it, whether they were going to take it up or not, so we didn't get anything out of that. And at the same time, in the bargain buyer or one of the other places, Forster has gotten into this and was, I think it was Saturday, they were going to take people on a trip through the woods down near the Situate Reservoir to show people what the water is all about. So it'd be great if you guys could get together with them and a couple of these other towns. If we all stood up against it, boy, it would really help. The other thing I was going to mention is this bridge that they're thinking of going over here by the coffee shop downtown. They took the sign off of that. A year ago, one of our policemen, not policemen, but what do you call these fellas that go around like the state that pulls the trucks over? We got one here in town, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, he pulled the truck over. And I think he gave him a ticket, and he gave a truck driver a ticket in front of him because he had a lawnmower in the back of his truck. He says, where are you going? He says, I'm going to cut my mother's lawn. He says, no, you're not. You're getting a ticket because you don't have this lawnmower tied up in it. But Barnes Concrete was empty when he went over that bridge. I don't understand how they're going to get these big tractor trailers through town. Because they can't go over that bridge. The only bridge that I know of that they can go over is in front of the post office, going up Sales Avenue and then get back on Route 100 again.
You know, to answer that question, tomorrow you may hear an answer to that question because our civil engineer will be discussing traffic issues. And I'm sure the planning board and the zoning board are going to be asking very similar questions if not that.
Where do signs go?
I'm sorry?
What happened to the signs that were on the bridge with the weight limits?
I don't know.
Nobody knows. That's so funny, never knows that.
They improved the bridge.
Oh.
I would like to just tell you, the audience, what the law provides for with respect to something that you're all concerned about. And that is the cumulative effect of this power plant, along with all the other things that are happening, let's say Ocean State Power Plant. It reads this, that inventory is to, and there's a specific rule under the general laws, is to provide a detailed description and analysis of the impact, including cumulative impact for facilities other than transmission lines of the proposed facility on the physical and social environment on and off-site, together with a detailed description of all environmental characteristics of the proposed site, and a summary of all studies prepared and relied upon in connection therewith. I can go on. So we do have rules, at least the siting board has rules that requires Inventor to answer these type of questions that we all have, not just me.
Will DEM be there at that meeting?
DEM is supposed to provide a advisory opinion.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.